Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another video. So we're going to be looking at my sort of main first character that I've done. I've done softcore and hardcore with this character. Hardcore, I got to about 60-ish, died to something stupid. This was actually last season, or last league. Done this one on the normal softcore league now. And realistically, it is one of the easiest, simple builds possible. I really recommend it for anyone that's going to be trying to get into it. It's really, really cheap. If you want something that's just able to do kind of all content, it won't do everything the best, but it's certainly very strong. So what we're going to do is go over quickly the skill tree, the ascendancies, that sort of stuff, go over the gear, and yeah. So looking at the skill tree, effectively I started off pushing up here. Apologies if you can hear a plane in the background. Of course, as soon as I start recording, it would, there'd be a plane. We go to Oculus Dominion. We go and take this Heart and Soul and the Mana and Life nodes here. Go up, get Lord of the Dead. Now, we don't need to get that part yet. If you have a good jewel, you can probably just take it for the extra 2 points, 3 points it would take. However, we get that later otherwise. After that, we start moving across. We take Mind Over Matter. As soon as you get to it, you can actually do Quick Recovery first and go this one, then Mind Over Matter. Obviously, take the ones behind it as soon as, because you want the extra mana. Push down another jewel. Jewels are brilliant. If you look at what I've got here, 3% increased cast speed, 5% increased cast speed, 14% minion damage. I don't need the resistances, I don't need the tankiness, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But otherwise, it gives me everything I need. Keep pushing down. You've got Elemental Equilibrium as well as Grave Pact. Grave Pact just gives us so much damage. We take it. Potency of Will. So what we actually do now is go through, take the 3 skill effect duration nodes, just because that helps our SRS. I don't know if I've actually said we're actually doing SRS, funny enough. But it increased the length for SRS, so it's now 11 seconds my minions last for, which is really nice. It's a quality of life thing, but realistically, it makes a huge difference, so it's nice to have. So we take these 3, go down, get Shaper, keep coming down this way. You can get this if you want now, however I would recommend early moving past it, going straight down through Constitution, not even getting the full life wheel, coming across and getting this skill effect duration node as soon as possible. Then you have a couple of different choices. You can go into the skill wheel, you can get another jewel, you can go down here and get the flask node. But other than that, basically once you've got that point, you've got the base level of damage for SRS. You can move up to here, so I did that, got this skill effect duration node, and then moved up here, took these 2 nodes just to get that 15% damage, and then moved down here, got the life, got the move speed, cast speed, attack speed, dex, went and got Sanctity, just because that armor's nice, the energy shields is okay, regen's okay, and it gives the strength and intelligence, which is, my chest is red and blue gems, so kind of nice to have. As you can see, I did have to pick up agility just because it's the way things worked out. I probably could have geared a little bit better for it, but yeah. So once you've got sort of the skill effect duration nodes, the minion nodes, after that, the only real major damage increases are either increased minion damage or increases effect of your curses, increases effect of your aura. So this one, we use 2 auras, we use Hatred and we use Clarity. Clarity obviously giving mana back, Hatred just giving a load of extra damage. So getting the obviously effective auras and things like that. The effective curses, we use Elemental Weakness on Orb of Storms. Somewhere. We use Elemental Weakness somewhere, when I can find it. There we go. So we use the Immortal Cool to trigger the Elemental Weakness on cast when damage taken. You can actually put it into the Orb of Storms as well. I might just do that. But yeah, so you can put it into the Orb of Storms as well and trigger it off that. Otherwise, just do it off cast when damage taken, as well as the Elemental Equilibrium off Orb of Storms. You can be doing some serious damage. But yeah, other than that, let's look at the ascendancies. We go for Mistress of Sacrifice first. It's just so good. Increases skill effect duration. Do get a little bit more skill effect duration as well as damage. By the time you sort of get this second node of skill effect duration, you're probably going to be working up to your first lab anyway, if not already completed it. So you're going to have decent amount. You're going to have your offering skills also affect you, which means you can use Flesh Offering for that increased attack speed, move speed, and cast speed. Realistically, it's just all good. All good. After that, you go into Spirit Eater. You then go into Commander of Dark. Oh, sorry, no. You go into Mistress of Sacrifice, Commander of Darkness, Spirit Eater, and then so you can either go into Beacon of Corruption, which gives you Chaos Resistance, Minions Chaos Resistance, and Caustic Cloud on Death, dealing 10% of their max life as chaos damage per second. Or you can go and do what I did and go for the 2 15% increased damage nodes. For me, that gave me a ton more damage. There was no reason to be going for Beacon of Corruption. This just worked out better for me, so this is the setup I've gone with at the moment. If you go in on hardcore, I'd probably recommend Beacon of Corruption, just for the extra chaos resistance. Like I said, we get the Commander of Darkness, helps capping resistances off, the extra 20% if you've got an aura affected to you by, which we have clarity on us at all times. And then Spirit Eater just is a pure damage increase. But yeah, so that's kind of the skill tree. Outside of this, I'm level 80 something 2 now. I'll be moving up here, getting a little bit of leech, although it's not going to be huge. Minion damage, death attunement, and I believe I'm actually going to go down to here and get this increased non-curse node. So go around here, get these 3. But there's really not that many things on the tree right now that actually gives me a damage increase. For me, it's more defensive stuff at the moment that I'm looking at. But yeah, so looking at my gear, we have in my main weapon, the Scourge. So we've got Shield Charge, Fortify, and Faster Attacks. The reason I've gone for this. So Shield Charge, Fortify, Faster Attacks, pretty common setup for your mobility. You can see it's pretty fast with obviously the faster attacks. What it actually does though is using the Scourge, which gives us minion damage, attack speed, a little bit of increased physical damage as well, which does affect the SRS. I've also corrupted it and got fire damage leached as life, so it does SRS does do a little bit of fire damage. That gets leached as life. That's pretty cool. Just something, a quality of life thing. You don't have to have that, but it's nice. The 10% chance to trigger a level 18 Spectral Wolf though. What this allows you to do is you get kills, you get these wolves out. They're actually affected by Fortify, which gives them more melee damage as well as a little bit of tankiness. So brilliant. Why would you not have that? But yeah, so you have that on your glove, on your claw. These claws are quite expensive to get the red, green. However, if you can do it, it's definitely worth doing. My shield, I'm using Lionized Remorse just because it gives me so much tankiness. Gets me loads of increased armor, life, reduces my move speed a little bit, however you do not notice it. Stun and block recovery, block. It's just a pure defensive shield. I'm sure there are other options out there. In this, I'm using Hatred and Generosity support. So Hatred doesn't actually affect me, it just affects my minions. But it increases their damage, and the SRS is your entirety of your damage. You don't do any damage yourself, really, so it's fine. What we do on my helmet, I'm actually using a bone helmet. So there's 2 different options on the helmet. You use either a bone helmet with minions still increased damage. I've got 38%, 40% is the max roll, so it's pretty nice roll. I've also got triple resist, life, and increased armor energy shield, so I got really good with this roll. On this, as you can see, I've separated the gems. The reason I've done this is Clarity is connected to Val Haste. You could probably just actually change that to have increased duration. I actually have Val Haste up a lot anyway. You'll see why soon. So I don't really worry about that too much. But I use Clarity just because I need that aura. So I have to have an aura that's affecting me. As you can see, Clarity is affecting me to get the increased 20% elemental resistances and the increased attack and cast speed from my Ascendancy. So that's the reason you split these 2 auras up. But yeah, so actually I'm probably going to swap Clarity into there. And then I can put an increased duration node in there. Just to increase Val haste. There's no other reason for it. But yeah, in the gloves, I use Desecrate, faster casting support to help everything, Orb of Storms, and Flesh Offering. So Desecrate obviously puts corpses on the floor, Flesh Offering chunks them all up, and increases my cast speed, move speed, and attack speed, as well as just my cast speed anyway, by a ton. If you see just the speed I'm doing this, compared to how much I get when it falls off. If I just sit here and summon SRS, you can see how quickly I'm summoning. I've just done 10 there. If I do this, I've already done another 10. It is so much quicker. It makes a huge difference, and you just keep this up permanently. I'm using Grip of the Council Arcanist gloves. These gloves are not expensive at all. Gives you strength, which you do actually need with the build. Life, really good for the build. Cold res, I mean, it's just free resistance, why not? Minions have 10% reduced movement speed. Doesn't matter all that much. You'll see why in a second. Minions have 40% cold resist, nice. But they also gain 20% of physical damage as extra cold damage, which means you just get a flat 20% extra cold damage, which is lovely. The boots, I rolled these myself. They're not the best, but they're not the worst. Strength in fire res, because I was low on fire res at the time. Move speed and max life, as well as the enchant, regenerate 2% of life and mana per second if you were hit recently. Obviously, that's the one from the lab. Just to talk about the helmet again, you can get another helmet with 21%, or you can get the lab roll, the enchant, for 21% attack speed attack speed from Flesh Offering increase. If you get that, use that. It's more of a damage increase than the 40% perfect roll of a bone helmet. So if you get it, brilliant. If you don't, then the bone helmet's a cheap alternative that's almost just as good. But yeah, these boots, they're not great, but they're good enough. These are probably 1, maybe 2 chaos. Probably more because the enchant, but you could get your own and just roll them themselves. They're not expensive at all. The belt, purely defensive belt, huge life roll, huge armor roll, life regen, which is pretty nice, double resist. Pretty low lightning resist, but it is what it is. It is just a purely defensive belt, nothing else really needed. My rings, fire, lightning res, and fire, lightning res on the rings. So this in total gives me, what, like 90% resistance on 2 different resistances. That's pretty crazy. Energy shield, life, cast speed. So cast speed's a big thing to get these SRS out, as you can see. If I do this, does take me a little bit of time just to get the full 20 SRS out. That's me just got them out. Does take me a little bit of time, so cast speed's always nice. This other ring over here increases fizz damage, increases lightning damage. Both will affect your SRS. 15% to all ele resists and cold resist, because I was lacking cold resist. Just a nice ring in general. The decks actually needed the decks to sort of help with gems, so again, in total, quite a nice ring. Amulet. So this is probably one of my worst items. I don't need that much strength, although it's nice, but I don't need that much. I don't need that intelligence. The cast speed now is a little bit irrelevant. The spell damage doesn't affect SRS, so the only thing this amulet gives me is life. I will be replacing this soon, but again, it just shows you don't need like the greatest gear. You don't need every stat to be the best in the world. You can definitely do things with this build without it. And looking at creme de la creme. Infernal Mantle, Widow Silk Robe. So I'm using this one because I got a 5-link drop of it. Sorry, a 4-link drop of it or something. And I rolled it to a 5-link and it was good. It helped. Put a few fusions into it. Got lucky, got a 6-link. And have kind of been using it ever since. Now, there is one better, but we'll talk about that one in a second. For the time being, this gives +1 level of socketed fire gems. Fire damage, which is nice. Crit chance, which you're not going to crit very often, so it's not really relevant. Energy shield is quite nice. 15% of fire damage converted to chaos damage. It's nice, whatever. And increased spell damage taken when on low mana. But I don't typically, I am a little bit more at the moment, but I'm not typically having mana issues too much. But yes, I use, when I'm farming, when I'm clearing, I use SRS, minion speed, which is why we don't care too much about the move speed reduction on the gloves, because it does increase it by 42%, as well as Flesh Offering by another 30%. Melee Splash support, Ruthless support, just because they do so much damage. You would use an Empower here, so I am actually leveling Enhance at the moment, just because realistically I want these buffed up. Melee physical damage and minion damage. This is my farming setup, my clearing setup. Elemental focus and enhanced damage. So these two are for when I'm fighting bosses. When I have this full setup, my Desecrate and Valhaste up, I'm doing 42k per SRS, can spawn 20 at a time. Quick math, just over 800k DPS with this build. I've put about 15 to 20 chaos into it. Outside of the robe in itself is probably like 4 or 5x, but you can easily get just a random 5 link and do this. The other option is Belly of the Beast. If you get a corrupted Belly of the Beast with +1 to all skill gems, you're laughing. That is the best in slot possible. Gives us a lot of tankiness, and all of these gems giving an extra 1 level is pretty crazy. But yeah, so I'm going to jump into a map and we're going to have a look. So I'm actually going to do just Shape Dunes map. Doesn't matter on affixes. So this is one of the big things about this build. It really doesn't matter about affixes all too much. I haven't found an affix yet that I just completely cannot do. Enfeeble, a little bit hard because it does affect all your SRS minions. But this is a temporal chains map and we're not having any issues at all really with when we get our Desecrates out. So we're just going to get all our SRS out. My Lightning Golem's dead already. It happens at higher tiers. There's nothing you can do about it. And this is it. So all I'm going to do is keep moving. I'm not going to fight these mobs directly. I have no reason to actually stand with them. My whole goal in this is to keep summoning this and move away. I've actually got the wrong gems on. So that was actually without the majority of my AoE damage. And as you can see, what's actually happened now is I've spawned them and they've just gone running off. In terms of flasks, I'm not using the optimal flask for this setup. My flask costs probably, again, 1 to 2 chaos. I'm using a Witchfire Brew to get the vulnerability more for bosses than anything else. Because I'm quite tanky, so I can be near a boss occasionally. I use Aziri's Promise, Onslaught Flask, Mana and Life Flask. There are better flasks, however, you don't need them for a budget cheap build. But yeah, so all I'm going to do, I keep my mana flask up permanently. As you can see, we're having no issues with mana or anything like that at the moment. We are literally just running around. As long as I keep a decent spawn of SRS up, things just melt. As you can see, I'm not having any issues at the moment. This was just a random alked map. In fact, you saw me alk it anyway. Like, I don't care about affixes. I can do pretty much everything. I've done normal at Zeri. I've done my Uber lab. In terms of lab running, it can do it. However, it's not the fastest in the world. But you can definitely do them. If you get a decent day of being able to have like the decent layouts, definitely go and do them. You can definitely run them. But as you can see, we're getting Valhaste all the time. I'm keeping my Flesh Offering up as much as I can. If I ever get a point where I've not got corpses to do, I actually Desecrate and get some up. Flesh Offering was the biggest thing I had to manage in this build, just because it is so big. It is so important to have. You really do have to have it up for your minions to be doing extreme levels of damage. On bosses, you don't have to not weapon swap. You don't have to like gem swap. However, doing so will help you. So again, my goal in this isn't to face tank things. It's actually to do that. Just send things forward. If you get Bisco's belt, Bisco's amulet, you can use both effectively. There's no issues with that. And you obviously get the extra magic find. That is quite high-end stuff though. So if you're doing this on a budget, you're probably not going to have that to start with. If you do get one, brilliant. Headhunter works amazing with this build because, like I said, you just send your SRS out and they go and do all the work as well. there's so many different things with this, and it's such a simple build as well. You have a nice mobility skill, you have good amounts of damage, you can do most content in the game. Like I said, this has been my first real proper season, and I've done this without any issues at all. So guys, I'm not going to waste more of your time. It's already a 20-minute video. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. If you want any more information or anything like that about it, please let me know. Other than that, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you later, guys. Goodbye.